painting everything in warm amber hues. Sarah held her 2-year-old daughter Emma close as she watched the tall stranger approach their weathered fence line. His boots crunched softly against the dry grass, and his wide-brimmed hat cast shadows across a face she had seen around town, but never really noticed. "Ma'am," he said simply, touching the brim of his hat. His voice was deep and quiet, like distant thunder. Sarah shifted Emma to her other hip, feeling suddenly self-conscious in her faded work dress. "Mr. Cole, isn't it? From the Peterson place?" "That's right." Jacob Cole. He paused, his dark eyes taking in the peeling paint on her farmhouse, the sagging porch steps, the fields that desperately needed tending. "Heard you might be in some trouble." The understatement made Sarah's chest tighten. Trouble didn't begin to cover what she faced. Since her husband Thomas had died in that terrible accident 6 months ago, everything had been falling apart. The banknotes were coming due, and without a man's name on the deed, the law wouldn't recognize her claim to the land that had been in Thomas's family for 3 generations. "Word travels fast in small towns," she said carefully. Jacob nodded. "Slowly. It does." He was quiet for a long moment, studying the horizon where the sun was beginning to set. "My land borders yours to the east. Been watching your cattle wander onto my property." "Not complaining," he added quickly. "Just noticing." Emma babbled softly and reached toward Jacob's hat. Sarah gently caught her little hand. "I'm sorry. The fences need repair, but I haven't had time to. I fixed them yesterday." Sarah blinked. "You what?" "The fences. Fixed the broken posts, restrung the wire." Jacob's expression remained neutral, as if he were discussing the weather. "Figured it needed doing." A strange warmth spread through Sarah's chest, followed immediately by embarrassment. She didn't want charity, especially from a man she barely knew. "Mr. Cole, I can't accept wasn't charity." His voice was firm, but not unkind. "Good fences make good neighbors." My cattle were getting out too. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, the evening breeze rustling through the tall grass. Emma had grown sleepy against Sarah's shoulder, her small fingers tangled in her mother's long hair. "Mrs. Patterson," Jacob said finally, and Sarah was surprised he knew her name. "I heard about the bank, about the deed problems." Sarah's cheeks burned. Of course, he'd heard. Everyone in Millfield knew her business by now. "I don't know what you've heard, but I heard you need a husband." The blunt words hung in the air between them. Sarah felt her breath catch. Emma stirred in her arms, sensing her mother's tension, not permanently. Jacob continued, his tone matter of fact, just on paper, legal-like. "Until you can get things sorted with the bank." Sarah stared at him. In the fading light, his face was hard to read, but there was something steady about his presence that made her heart slow its frantic beating. "Why would you?" she began, then stopped. "You don't even know me." "Know enough." Jacob shifted his weight, and Sarah noticed how his work-worn hands rested easily at his sides. "No, you get up before dawn to milk your cow. No, you've been trying to fix that broken windmill by yourself for 2 weeks. No, you sing to that little girl while you hand laundry." Sarah felt heat rise in her cheeks. "You've been watching me." Hard not to notice when someone's working themselves to death next door. There was no judgment in his voice, only quiet observation. "Thomas was a good man, deserves to have his family keep what he built." The mention of her late husband's name brought unexpected tears to Sarah's eyes. She blinked them back quickly. But Jacob noticed. He always seemed to notice things. "It would just be a paper marriage," she said quietly. "I couldn't ask you to. You're not asking." "I'm offering." Jacob took a step closer to the fence, and Sarah could see the sincerity in his dark eyes. "No obligations, no expectations, just 2 neighbors helping each other out." Emma chose that moment to wake up fully, looking around with the wide-eyed curiosity of a toddler. When she saw Jacob, she smiled and reached for him again. Without hesitation, Jacob extended his finger, and Emma grabbed it with both her tiny hands. "She likes you," Sarah said softly. "I like her too." Jacob's voice gentled as he spoke to Emma. "Hey there, little one. You taking good care of your mama?" Emma giggled and babbled something that sounded almost like words. Jacob smiled the first real smile Sarah had seen from him, and her heart did something strange in her chest. "The bank wants an answer by Friday," Sarah said, almost to herself. "Then we should probably talk to the preacher tomorrow." Sarah looked at him sharply. "Mr. Cole, Jacob, this is a big thing you're offering. Are you sure?" Jacob was quiet for a long moment, his fingers still captured by Emma's determined grip. When he finally spoke, his voice was so low Sarah had to lean forward to hear him. "Last, my own place once, back in Kansas. Different circumstances, but He paused. Sometimes folks need help. Sometimes helping others helps yourself. There was pain in those words, Sarah realized. Old pain, carefully tucked away but not forgotten. She wondered what had happened in Kansas, what had brought this quiet man to Montana. What would people say? She asked. Let them talk. Jacob gently extracted his finger from Emma's grasp. People always talk. Doesn't change what needs doing. The sun had almost set now, painting the sky in deep purples and soft pinks. Somewhere in the distance, a meadowlark called to its mate. Emma had settled back against Sarah's shoulder, content and drowsy. I don't even know your favorite color, Sarah said, and was surprised to hear herself almost laughing. Blue, Jacob said without hesitation. Like the sky right before dawn. What's yours? Yellow. Like sunflowers? Good to know. They looked at each other across the fence line. This woman who needed saving and this man who offered salvation with no strings attached. In the growing twilight, with Emma breathing softly between them, it felt like the most natural thing in the world. All right, Sarah said quietly. If you're sure, I'm sure. Jacob touched his hat brim again, a gesture that was already becoming familiar. I'll pick you up at 9 tomorrow. We'll go see Pastor Williams. As he walked away across the darkening fields, Sarah stood holding her daughter and watching until his tall figure disappeared into the shadows. For the first time in months, she felt something that might have been hope. Emma stirred in her arms and whispered, Mama. Yes, baby, Sarah murmured, pressing a kiss to her daughter's soft hair. Mama's here, and maybe we're going to be just fine. The first stars were beginning to appear in the vast Montana sky, and Sarah allowed herself to believe that tomorrow might bring something better than just survival. It might bring a new beginning.